Hello.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. We've been
Finally.
setting this up for a long time now. It's been like 2 months. We've been trying to work this out.
Yeah.
Finally, we got some time in our schedule. So, yeah, let's get this interview started. Um, Basically, the point of this interview is to teach people who are basically for you to share your experiences, right? Living abroad, studying abroad, working abroad, just things like that. What that is like coming from a third world country like Mongolia and that experience and transition and the new environment, new social environment, and just basically sharing your experiences doing that. So, following that, can you please introduce yourself a little bit briefly?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Ari. You can call me Ari. It's short for Ariunzaya. And now I've been living in Japan for about 5 years now. I've just graduated like last March and now looking for a job here.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, we'll get back to the Japan thing first. But I've heard that you've been to Australia when you were a little kid. Could you please like talk about how your experience was there? What was your first impressions like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've been to Australia in 2011 until 13. And I was in middle school by the time. And I've lived there with my family for 2 years, and my experience was not much of like a working person,
Yeah, yeah,
but
obviously,
of a yeah.
yeah.
So the first impression was that everything was so much different from Mongolia, like the people,
Yeah,
the
agreed.
place.
Yeah,
And the thing about Australia is that it's a multicultural country.
yeah,
So we have like a many different backgrounds, like many different cultures
yeah,
living in the same place. And another thing was that it was more expensive. Like
yeah,
the expenses were high, and but then also the salaries would also be higher. So it
definitely.
was like a very different experience with a lot of takes and
Yeah,
I guess that was pretty much it.
yeah, all good. You can't really get that much because you were like pretty young, and also it was like only 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Mm.
agree. Like that first 2 years from me coming to New Zealand, Australia, even though they say they don't like each other, realistically they're quite similar in culture. And yeah,
Right?
like coming from a third world country to New Zealand, very different. Like it's just people are way more nicer, way more accepting. Like Mongolia is just
Mm.
only Mongolians, right? And we take a
Right.
lot of pride in being Mongolians. And so here it's like everyone's different culture. We have Filipino, Indian,
Yes.
European, like we have all of it, like African, and then we have the indigenous people here of New Zealand called Maori, like all of them. It's like
Mm.
so many
We
cultures like
we had
interlacing.
Aboriginals as well in
Yeah, in Australia,
Australia.
exactly. So like things like that's very interesting to like see it from that perspective. How was the
Now,
English learning side of it? Like, did you know any English prior to going to
uh,
Australia, or were you just straight no English thrown into the deep end kind of thing?
well, before going to Australia, I guess my grammar wasn't too bad.
Hmm.
Like my writing and reading was kind of okay. But then, like once I got there, like I couldn't directly like speak to people, so it
Yeah.
took me about almost a year to like
Hmm. Definitely.
gradually learn to make conversations
Yeah, it is
in
tough.
daily lives. So I guess because we had all of our classes were in English, so that kind of helped a lot. Also, like having friends in
Yeah,
class.
that's what I'm saying.
We had a lot of Asians
Oh,
also.
that's good. That's good.
So we had this like common, community. Like we had a lot to
Yeah,
talk about, like movies and stuff. So I guess that also helped a lot with improving my speaking.
that's
And I guess
exactly.
it's kind of, like, especially for elementary school students, my brother, I have a little
Yeah.
younger brother, and he was in elementary back then.
Hmm.
And I guess his speaking skills, like, improved much more rapidly than mine.
Yeah, that's the same. I have the same experience with my brother. Like, I have an older brother. He's like 7 years, and
Mm,
like compared to like me and him, like my English is just speaking wise is like I got into it a lot more faster than he did because he was like 7 years older. He like lived in Mongolia until he was like 18, so it's like a lot
mm.
more harder for him to pick up a new language from convert to me, who just I just literally
Yeah,
got
it
thrown
takes
in
kind of
there.
time.
Like they like stuck me with like a buddy like that who just kind of like taught me everything, and I just talked to him for like days on days, and like this is like broken English. Like I can barely speak. I'm like me want food, like things like that. You know, it's very hard to like do it. But yeah, like more we kept talking, like you just kind of pick it up slowly. So yeah, definitely.
Mm,
Like the having friends is very important in that kind of environment.
yeah, that is very important. And I was so glad that I could find some friends I could talk with. So
Definitely, definitely. That having that, yeah, it is when you more you think about it, like when you have come from like an Asian background, like other Asians have quite similar backgrounds. You have a lot to like relate over, you know? Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that
exactly.
quite a lot. So going off to like, because you said you lived with your family in Australia. You want to talk about a little bit about your family along those lines?
Sure, sure. So
Hmm.
I've got a family of five, my
Oh wow.
parents and sister and a younger brother. So
Ah, I see, I see.
they're all living in my sister, except my sister, she's now in Spain doing her master's.
Oh wow.
My brother just started working in Mongolia.
Oh, nice, nice,
So
nice.
I don't have much time, like he doesn't have much time to spend on me, like to
Yeah.
call me these days. Yeah,
Hmm,
but they're
definitely.
doing
When you live
all great.
separately, it does get a little bit harder. Like,
Yeah.
because like when me and my brother used to like live here together, because it's like our family whole came in here. It used to be like real tight, and we lived in basically like in the same house, see each other every day. But he now working in Mongolia now, he a busy man, and I'm also like working here, studying here. It just like basically gets a little bit harder to like really communicate that kind of thing.
That's so true. I just
Definitely.
like um recently witnessed how my brother and my family is doing back in Mongolia. I just visited
Ah,
for a
true. Yeah,
month.
you just came back from Mongolia.
Yeah.
How was that, by the way?
Nice.
Like coming back to
Um
Mongolia after a while, it does like throw you off a little bit.
yeah, it's been actually 2 years since I last
Yeah.
went back, so it's been a while. And then I was kind of surprised by the traffic and stuff, like the
Yeah,
little
the traffic
things
really does
that's
get you.
always happening back there. I can always like hear from the other social media and news.
Yeah.
But then actually experiencing in person, that was
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah,
another thing. It was
it's
another.
definitely a little bit tough.
Yeah.
Hmm. I
I
agree. I
guess
agree. Because I went there in like July, and that like all of July I was there during the summer. Like it's
but
everything.
July,
Yeah,
that's
July.
like the best time in Mongolia,
Yeah,
right?
for
To
sure, for
spend.
sure. I had like a blast.
Because
I was.
everyone's like gone outside, like to the countrysides to
Yeah,
visit,
yeah, yeah,
and
true.
then the city would be almost empty, so
You
it's
you would
kind of
think that,
good.
but that was only like for like 3 days. Like Nadam was
Ah,
going on. Like that was like the 3 days. Like Nadam was going on. Like yeah, like
and
it's
then
like empty. It's
afterwards.
really nice, but like immediately just crashes back in, and it's just like yeah. I got lucky.
I
I
guess
lived in
so.
the city center, so like I can just walk everywhere. But I felt bad for a lot of people like who are out. You know, it's like it's way
It's
like an
true,
hour to come
especially in
back in and
Yarmouth,
out.
right?
It's miserable. Absolutely
Miserable.
miserable.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly. And I would really like to, like talk more about Mongolia, but I guess because a lot of our audience actually
yeah,
lives
yeah,
there,
yeah. Yeah.
so we
We
should
love our country. We love
probably
our country.
yeah.
We love Mongolia over here. We ta- and like as
Same,
much as we
same.
like kind of joking about it, like I do realize that having like a little bit of a national identity is really nice though. Like
It
especially
is,
being
it
in
is.
a different country, like having that feeling of I am Mongolian and have my own unique culture. It is so nice to have. Like I do love it. Like because
Exactly.
like
Like
for
every
I don't know how it is in Japan because like maybe there's a lot more bigger Mongolian community over there. But like New
every
Zealand,
time in
it's just me. Like
Japan.
it's like 50 of us, maybe like 100 max, and like you barely see anybody over there. So it's just like
That's
I'm
cool.
like a special person in this community. So it's just like I have to go out there and like I'm a Mongolian, that kind of thing. It's very interesting.
In Japan as well, but we do have a lot more Mongolians here than compared to
Yeah, I
New
would
Zealand.
imagine
But
it's a lot closer. Yeah.
every time you like meet a person and tell them that you're from Mongolia, they're like, "Oh, Genghis Khan, like the
Yeah.
sumo, Asashoryu, like Hakuho." Yeah.
We got that sumo going. Yeah, we were pretty
Yeah,
good at
and then
sumo
like
back in the day, so that's
Japanese
why.
in Japanese, like strong, they say tsuyoi, and like,
Yeah.
"Oh, tsuyoi."
So
Yeah. They all go like, "Oh, 強いね."
going.
It is kind of funny.
Yeah, I can imagine. For me, like all my friends probably like think I used to go to school on my horse. Like that's like Like I go to school like in
That's
a
very
horse, you
common.
know. Like sometimes I just lean into it. I'm like, yeah, that's literally like my ride, you know. I call Ubers for horses, you know, that kind of thing. I just lean into it because they have no idea.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that like they have no idea on like how Mongolia operates. It's like how like a lot of people think like Africa is just like huts and like desert. Like it's not like it's like kind of the same kind of stigma to it. Like you just go
The
out there
topic
like
of horses, it's never ending.
yeah, literally,
Never
they're like,
ending.
"Yep, we live and breathe with horses." Like most of
Yes.
our like half our country do, but like not like me personally at least. Yeah,
Well, I do like horses.
yeah,
Not
for
that
sure,
I spend like half of my time thinking about it, but yeah.
for sure. All right, let's we kind of went on a tangent a little bit there. Let's go back to you a little bit. Um, you were studying in Japan now. You just graduated, so like
Mm.
all of like studying, you've been studying for 5 years now. What is like, first of all, your biggest challenge in being in Japan was like in that 5 year experience? What was like something that you're like, man, this is
Oh,
tough. How am I gonna get through this kind of thing?
good question. I guess it's always been the language barrier for me because to begin with, I came to Japan like hoping that I wouldn't spend more than 4 years here.
Mm.
My original plan was to, go to another place for a master's after I graduate
Yeah,
my undergrads. So from the beginning, I was hesitant to learn the language, because I kind of like gave myself excuses that I wouldn't be using this language for another, for the rest of my life
yeah, 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 yeah.
if I move out of here.
Yeah.
So, mm, I guess because of that, I haven't been able to, like communicate with the people, especially the locals. They can't really speak much of English, and
Yeah.
even though they do understand English, it's kind of like a struggle for them to
Hmm.
speak back. Like, it's it's also like a thing for Mongolians as well, right? So
Yeah.
I don't judge Japanese people for not speaking English at
Yeah, for
all
sure.
because
It's just, like, they live their
mm,
lives like
yeah, and they don't actually need it anyway. So, but
most of the time
I
they're
guess
like
for
judging
me,
us, you know?
yeah, exactly. Like, why
Yeah.
can't you speak Japanese? You're in Japan.
Exactly. That makes so much more sense than
Happens
like
all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess because of that, I haven't been able to like experience it from the point of view where I understand it fully, like
Yeah.
completely. But
So you
then
just been like
other,
kind of like living in Japan for like 4 to 5 years with kind of like minimal Japanese.
yes,
Oh wow.
exactly.
Okay, okay,
And it's
okay.
very hard for people to like believe. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but
because it's like
um
5 years is a long time. Like if
I
I
guess
lived
it
in New
is
Zealand
long.
with minimal English for 5 years, I don't think I would have made it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's
Well, my
just
undergrad was actually a program in English, so I didn't really need a lot of
nice.
Japanese
I see, I see.
in my studies for my studies. But then, like, again, the COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
I guess since then, it's been always like remote classrooms, and I haven't been meeting a lot of people in person.
Yeah, I see.
I haven't been able to go out for
Yeah,
like a
makes
year.
sense. Japan's
Yeah,
like pretty
so
serious about was pretty serious about COVID. They had a pretty good response to it, I felt like.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah, it was really
Oh,
quite all
flipping
right.
back onto a better side of the challenges, because definitely language barrier is always a big thing. What was like a big
Mm.
memorable time? Something you were like, this is a core memory in my
Mm.
brain. I love this time kind of thing in Japan.
I guess traveling all the time when you travel around like other cities, other places, it hits you.
Real? Pardon?
Mm,
It hits you.
like yeah, it hits you like, oh, this place isn't like too bad. There's
It's
always
not
like a
that
good
bad.
side to it. Good side to
I
it.
imagine
And
because a
then
lot of people here are like, yeah, I want to go to Japan, bro. Japan looks amazing. I think like yeah, I think the Japanese culture, the food, the just like, everything around it, like the sights, like I think it's pretty like good for
it's
tourism. I felt
amazing.
like yeah, it looks
Yeah,
pretty
it is.
amazing. Yeah.
And when I first came to Japan, like Tokyo, it was for only 10 days to attend like this short program
Yeah.
called Sakura Science. Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the time when I visited, because it was only 10 days, I was like shocked and like definitely wanted to come back here.
Yeah, because you don't get 10
I
days, you
guess
can't like
Japan,
absorb it all.
Like Japan is the best place to travel, but for living, I wouldn't like completely recommend, like fully recommend
Ah, I
it,
see, I
but
see.
still, if you want a safe, like, um, you know, if you want a safe and kind of secure kind of life where your kids can go around playing in the park,
Yeah,
the that kind of life is the perfect
for
thing
Japan.
for Japan.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard like the crime rates are
So
like super low. Like,
yeah, it is.
definitely, we love to see it.
If you think about the population, of course.
Yeah, it's even more crazy because it's like 100 mil, isn't it? 100 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
127, I guess.
Wow, that's a lot. So, what do you study? What did you finish just studying this now?
So my major was transdisciplinary science and engineering. So it's basically like an engineering-based management course where
Oh,
we learn the fundamentals of all sorts of engineering,
yeah.
like very briefly,
Okay.
honestly, like only for 1 quarter or a semester, you would
Yeah.
learn about um like electrical engineering, reaction engineering, chemical engineering,
So
like
you
all
you're like
sorts
the
of
jack of all
engineering.
trades. Like you know about it all, basically. You can like talk about it
Yeah,
all.
it's very general though
Yeah.
in a sense, but then we get to like learn the basics in a very short time. And then also we have this other courses where we do teamwork, group projects
Ah, yeah.
called like system engineering, that sort of thing to, like um develop interactions with each other
Yeah, basically like learn how to
and
operate
problem
in
solving.
teams, allocating
Yeah.
roles, things like that. Yeah,
Mm,
makes sense, makes sense. Because I'm studying person right now because I'm studying management, just like normal management, not engineering
mm,
management, but like normal management, like in business. And that's kind of like what we do as well. We're like constantly doing group projects and like allocating times
I
and
can
meetups and
imagine.
like things like that. Yeah, definitely. Uh,
So yeah,
so
that's basically what I
yeah,
just studied and finished.
nice, nice, nice. What made you want to pick engineering though? Like, was that just like a passion,
Um,
or was it just more like, oh, I'm kind of good at this and keep going, or it's just like, oh, engineering looks nice, it looks prestigious, I don't want to do it, kind of thing.
good question. A tough one, actually.
Oh,
I
real?
would pick, yeah, answer number two and three, I guess, because
Yeah.
at the time when I graduated high school, people, like the whole society, my teachers and my parents were telling us to become engineers to,
Mhm.
build the country later on. And
Ah,
it's
true.
been like a thing like for
Yeah.
all of us. So it was either like finance or engineering.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of choice. I mean, like we
Yeah.
did, but
But like
the
not
options
really. Yeah.
weren't
Well,
really, yeah, options
considering the
weren't really
social
given.
pressures, yeah, 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 I get you. It's kind of like what
And
I ended up doing. Because I graduated my high school and I was like relatively good at maths and physics, and I was like, okay, but like I knew I wanted to do business in the future. Like I knew engineering was not like my end of my career path, but like
uh, at
they
least
like
you knew.
yeah, but they like view engineering as such like a hard degree to get into in New Zealand, like especially the university that attend right now. They're like, and it's like you have to be really good to get into engineering, and like my scores were enough to get into it, and like I looked at like the business and like management side of things, like degree, and it was like a lot easier to get into. So I was like, I'll just do the harder one since I already have it. I did it for like a year, absolutely hated it, went back to business the next year. That's literally how
uh,
I did. It's just not for
I
me because I
see,
think
I
engineering or
see.
something is like I don't know. I just it didn't really sit well with me for it, to be honest.
That was very brave of you to like change your major.
Thank you, thank you. It was a whole thing. Don't worry
Because
about that.
when I was a sophomore year, I also wanted to drop out.
Not
Like,
see. You think I'm like because I actually struggle with that thought a lot myself. Like maybe I always had that little doubt, like maybe I should have saw it through. Maybe like I could have just finished it up. But like, you really did. Like you
uh
had that moment of like I might drop, I might drop out because you have those moments like when you're in your course and you're like, oh, I absolutely hate everything about this, but like you still keep going, and I think it's what you did is a lot more impressive relatively to considering what I did. But I
mm,
think both at the end of the day, we're both happy. We're both happy with what we're doing in our lives, so we're both winning. Game's a game.
hopefully.
Hopefully, hopefully, yeah,
Well,
definitely, hopefully.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about, we want to talk about Mongolia a little bit. Let's go back to that topic.
Sure, sure.
Comparing Mongolia and Japan, what are like the goods and the bads, that kind of
Mm.
thing. What parts are like Mongolia does this a little bit more better than Japan, and then some parts like Japan does this better than Mongolia, kind of thing.
To be honest, I just spent a month in Mongolia,
Mm.
right? So from that short time experience, I think the system, like the big whole system in Mongolia, is not really working
Yeah,
properly.
yeah,
I guess I guess the perks of having a like bigger population is that you have the labor to do all that work,
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
the
sure.
background work.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess we can still work on that
yeah, for
little
sure.
by little. Like
Yeah, a little bit.
we will eventually get there, hopefully.
Mm.
And I've already mentioned about the traffics and other,
Is
small
Japan like
things.
traffic heavy, or is it like pretty okay?
Well, we do have some traffic, but then it's manageable,
Mm,
I would
yeah,
say. Like,
like it
mm,
moves.
yeah,
Like
it still moves.
like
It's
it
not
move. It's
like,
slow, but it moves. Mongolia, you
yeah,
get you
it
get to a
moves.
spot. You can turn off your car. You just have like sit down for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Also, there are like options to change your road all the time. So if
True,
it's like
true.
stuck,
And like
yeah,
also like isn't like Japan's like train system and things like that, public transport is like really good. Yeah.
absolutely, it's perfect. I would say I would define it as perfect, honestly,
Perfect.
because
Oh wow. Big
trains,
word.
even sometimes like buses, they're like always on time. So yeah, it's
I heard
crazy.
yeah, I heard that's
Mhm.
um
So yeah, because we have that in Japan, there's not much problem with the traffic either.
yeah. What is like something that you like do miss about Mongolia though? Like this is
Ah,
something
the
like
nature.
nature?
Always the
Yeah.
nature.
It is a
Yeah,
beautiful country, our country.
it is. God, the air is totally different.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We have like one little city that are like it's pretty tough air, and then you literally leave it for like next over, and you're like your lungs are like breathing differently. It's like 4K air. It's crazy.
I landed in Tokyo and like in Narita, and
Yeah.
then I went outside and what's this? What's this? No,
What's
this is
the
not air.
this is not
No.
yeah.
Yeah, it was that different. But I guess like there are other things like friends, family,
Yeah.
you
I think
know.
that's one of the biggest things for me. Like it's just like either friends or
Mm.
family there. I think our culture's different. That's what I realized.
It is
Yeah,
very different.
like the attitude everybody has, it's so much more different, like compared to like at least like Japan and New Zealand. Like I went back and just like it's more like serious in a sense. Like people are always like on the grind in a way, like always thinking about
Yeah.
the next move. They're like, yeah, yeah, they gotta think about work, responsibilities. I go out to like the city, they're like la la, like they're just thinking about life, man. They're just happy and enjoying their lives. And I go to Mongolia in the summer, everyone's just like straight deep thinking like about their life,
Like,
bro. I'm like, okay, it's different.
how is this person, like this dude, gonna like,
Yeah, it's always
take
like
my
about somebody
money?
thinking like,
Take
oh, how is this person gonna like do me over? Like, how am I gonna like do this to this person?
Yeah.
Like, always like very like deep thinking about us. Not a
Well,
lot
I
of
guess it
trust over there.
wasn't
That's what
just
I realized.
me.
Not a lot of trust.
Mm,
Like the baseline
yeah,
trust you have towards people is very low. I felt like
that
a lot
is
of people
so
were just kind of
true.
like scared of like getting stabbed from behind. I'm like, oh, it's not like crazy. I actually once got called out for smiling. Like I literally landed, right? I had some like headphones
Oh,
that listened to some music, having a good time.
oh,
Someone in the car was like, "Yo, what are you
holy.
smiling about?" I'm like, "Yo, like
Oh
it is
my
not that deep."
God.
Crazy, crazy, absolutely crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, I thought it was only me, just me, like, because I also like felt that way. Because like everyone's got this, look on themselves, like
Literally,
it's kind of scary,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
though,
like pretty intense.
Yeah, and I told this about this to my uncle and my cousins, and then when I told them, they also realized, like, now that you said it. it is kind of true.
Mm-hmm. Like, you don't
Yeah,
feel it
because
like you don't
mm,
when you're inside it, you don't really like notice it. It's like, oh, yeah, it's everybody's like this. But then you see someone come in and like, yeah, it's very different.
yeah, that is true. I guess it wasn't just me then.
No, it's not just you don't. Like once you come from like a different country, you really notice it. I felt like
Mhm.
it's like that
Oh, in
survival.
Japan?
I call it having like a survival mindset. It's like always for like the next step to just survive.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, when like a social issue comes up and then we talk about it, everyone like keeps on making jokes about it and just laugh it off as
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
like
yeah. They like
I
they
just
know
don't
it's
get
there.
that
Like,
mindset. I really honestly don't get that mindset at all. Like,
yeah.
why would they just laugh it
They're
off
like,
as
it's
if
just
it's
how
like
it is.
nothing?
You know, it's pretty good one. And it's like, no, like the issue's still there. Like, let's do something. It's like, nah, just laughing about it.
The humor of Mongolians, it's
Oh,
just
it's so dark. It's so dark. Like it doesn't make
it's
sense. Like
just
I had to like
above
I was in
next level.
shock for like a good 2 weeks because I was there for a month. First 2 weeks, like I didn't understand like why people were laughing. They're like, yo, are we allowed to laugh about this? Like they just be saying some
I
crazy
know,
stuff and
right?
they just laugh about it. It's very interesting over there. Very tough skinned people we
Iron
are.
the irony.
Yeah. Very tough skinned, you know. We're so used to having problems in our lives. We just laugh about it
Yeah,
now.
it is kind of funny.
So I guess we've been talking about Mongolia a lot. Let's move back again. Um, like you as a person, because right now I just told you I'm doing business, I'm doing this content creation
hmm
thing, you know, really trying to go forward in the future. What was like your, in a sense, like your goals right now? What's your next step?
Mm, good question. Actually, I've been asking that myself for the past one whole year, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a tough question.
Um,
Like you don't have to answer it if you don't feel like you have the right
yeah, it's
answer for it.
fine.
But yeah,
No worries. So far, I guess just like because I just graduated in university and still hasn't started doing anything like serious or
yeah,
um so far I've been thinking that my major that I just finished
Hmm.
is not so much like the thing that I want to do. It's not very related.
Yeah,
Like, so I kind of want to find the passion, like the
yeah,
thing that I would really, like want to do
yeah.
without giving up on it, like for a long period of time,
Gotcha.
like,
Yeah, like having that
as a
passion is very
career.
important. I think
Yeah.
I genuinely thought about that a lot as well. Like that's what also like I'm kind of similar to you. I started doing engineering. I was like, yeah, this is not it. But then like the biggest question, like a lot of people around me was like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, uh, I don't know, not this. And
You're
they're like, that's
stuck.
not good enough. Like you need to, if you want to move to something else, you know, you got to have that something else ready to like go into.
Exactly.
And one big thing I realized is even if you do like it, like there's a lot of times when you're like working on your passion, you still hate it,
Hmm.
you know, because you'll fail, you'll be miserable at it, you like run into a
Yeah.
wall and you don't know how to get past it. And I think that's where like that. I know it's been said like literally everywhere by everyone who does motivational things. It's like discipline. You know, you gotta sit there and just suffer through it. And as much as I
Yeah.
hate that word, it's literally the most truest thing out there is. That's why I hate it so much because it's the only thing like that stops a lot of people from like getting to that next level. And because it's
True.
just like even though you like something, you do it like for like a good every day, constantly, you start hating it because it's like, oh, this is like absolutely miserable. That's part of the process of like becoming good and you know being good enough to live off it kind of thing. So yeah,
That's so true.
like I personally I really like interviews and public speaking and stuff. But you think about it for like a good 2 months straight, you're like, no, I don't. I hate this. But that's not you really hating it. It's just like you kind of like hate that you're not moving forward and like not hating the process kind of thing.
Exactly. So the point is just to keep doing it, like even though you feel
Yeah.
like you don't like doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. You will. Like once you're good, you like it. Because at the start, you're
Yeah.
getting better. You know, you start
It
learning really
takes time.
fast. You pick it up quick, and like, oh, this is really fun.
Mhm.
I'm doing well. And then you start sucking at it, and you start seeing everybody else
It
be
just
so
goes
much
like
more amazing at it. And you're like, oh my god, I'm so miserable. I'm trash. This is not my thing. No, it is your thing. It's just you
yeah.
have to sit there and suffer through it because everybody who else you think is better than you are also suffering through it probably as well.
You do need to spend like enough time
Yeah, definitely.
on it.
Very important.
Mm, exactly. So
Um,
I'm still in search of that thing
yeah,
where I would
definitely.
really, really like suffer through. So I'm trying like new things.
Oh, what are you
Um
trying?
so recently I've been trying to edit a video.
Oh, really? Editing
Yeah,
is
but
fun. Actually,
it's not
I hope it's.
really.
I heard it's fun for people. I hate it. I don't even.
But you do make content on
Yeah,
videos.
I don't do the editing. Like
Ah, I
I do
see.
this
Okay.
part. I like doing the talking. Making the video, speaking in front of the camera,
Mm,
and then like, I don't do that part.
I see. I see.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then like um, I've also been trying some reading and writing, uh,
Ooh, writing is
making
good. I
memos.
like reading and writing. They're both of
Mm,
those very nice things. It's very good for
yeah.
self development, to be honest. I've realized.
Um, so like the jobs, the positions that I really want to get is like it takes a lot of language skills because
Like soft
In
skills.
Japan,
Oh,
yeah.
like straight like Japanese. That's
So
classes.
like project management, product management, those kind of jobs, they require like a native kind of
Yeah.
level of
How did
Japanese,
you
especially.
graduate? I'm so sorry. Like this is like more I think about it. Like you're in a management position where like talking is so important, and you have minimal. That's
It was
impressive. You must have had
that
to.
was, no, no,
You
it
must be
was all
smart.
in English. It was all in English, but
Oh,
then yeah, yeah.
how are they
So
teaching
like
English and then they're gonna make require Japanese? That's such a messed system.
and then in Japan, because like most of the clients are Japanese, the companies
Yeah.
they would require that as a
I see. I
like
see.
mandatory. So
Yeah.
that's been a bit of a struggle. So I'm now like learning some Japanese,
I see.
which is taking a lot of my time.
I can
But
imagine so. Yes.
because I hate Japanese, it's just the thing is that I hate the language. The characters, the
Yeah, there's like
kanji,
three different types. There's like kanji, hiragana, and there's the other one.
katakana.
Katakana, my
Well, the
bad.
hiragana, katakana are fine, but it's just
I heard kanji's pretty tough.
kanji.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kanji is the
A lot of people
problem.
complain about kanji.
So yeah, I'm trying to work on that. So
I see.
hopefully one day.
Yeah, one day we'll get there. We'll get there. As we talked about this, gotta suffer through it, get through it, get to the end. Well, let's wrap it up. I have one more last question for you before we finish it up. As someone who is experienced living abroad, studying abroad by herself, really going through the challenges of going to a new country, finding your foothold and really basically thriving and graduated now, you're doing really well. What is like the one advice you would like tell to like young people who are also trying to go out to new countries and really explore that world kind of thing?
Hmm. Okay, good question. I think it's the most important one for this interview, I guess.
For sure, for sure.
If I have to give just one advice, then I would say it's the language, honestly.
Mm,
Like, depends on which country you're trying to go to. Like, you need to know the language to communicate with people. But
yeah,
if you're like a beginner, then like start to try
yeah,
to speak and use it as much as possible with anyone.
yeah. Make that effort,
If you're
definitely.
already like there, then you can talk to anyone
Yeah,
basically. Right?
and like people don't understand how important that is. Like of
Yeah,
being
people
able
don't
to
understand.
understand someone else, it makes it seem like every other problem seems so much more easy. Because if you can't understand the language, like even just like going to the bank can be such a challenge. Of like if you don't have that, yeah, make that effort to really understand the language. Like don't think it's like a thing you'll just pick it up. No, make that effort because you're gonna. It makes the experience of living abroad so much more pleasant than anything else. Like
Yeah,
any other
and then the
advice? Yeah,
second
like
advice,
yeah. I think
mm,
that's the number one, definitely.
try to make a community. Like
Ooh,
try to network with
that's a
people.
new one.
eh,
Yeah,
Like especially if you're studying in university or college,
yeah,
then like think of your hobby or interest that you can relate to with people.
yeah,
Like most in other than Mongolia, most places they have clubs, like school clubs. and you can find many people that you can relate to
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
about the same topic. So it's a very good community space you can use
Yeah.
to improve your like language
Yeah,
skills as well
exactly.
as
It
your
connects to it as well. It's just like
yeah.
when you're surrounded by people, you want to talk about something, and then the more you want to talk, you attempt it more. Even though it's
Yes,
wrong, you say some
exactly.
crazy things because like the language is not there. The more you try it, the more you fail at it, the more you get better at it. And it's like an all
Exactly.
overall message of keep going until you get it. It's the whole big theme in our interview today. All right. Thank you very much for this interview. Or I can see the
Thank you
timer's
so
running down.
much.
I really enjoyed having you on the show. Really glad you're here to hear your experiences on like just your like,
I was
life
glad
and
to
all the
have
challenges you went
participated
through
as
and all
well.
your triumphs. Thank you for coming. Yeah,
Thank you for inviting me in the first place. I
for sure,
really
for sure,
enjoyed the interview as well. It's been a
Hmm,
while since I last did something like this.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.